Imagine a universe where 10,000 have tried and failed to win the heart of an immortal empress. But one human, reluctant and weary, didn't even have to try. When betrayal strikes from the shadows and enemies hunt them across hostile worlds, survival depends on trust, courage, and a bond that defies all odds. This is not just a story of power. It's a story of unexpected love that changes the fate of a galaxy. Stay with us because what happens next will leave you breathless. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Let's move toward wonderful story. Leo Carver hated events like this. The endless, formal greetings, the heavy suits that made him sweat, and the fake smiles that hid sharp intentions beneath. Yet, here he stood, pressed against the smooth white marble wall of the grand hall of the Celestial Alliance. His eyes scanned the crowd with practiced skill, quietly observing every movement, every whisper. He was not here for pleasantries or politics. Leo was a security specialist, and this event was his duty to protect the most important person in the galaxy, Empress Heiress Velen. The hall was breathtaking, a massive space filled with shimmering lights and polished floors that reflected the gleam of hundreds of stars embedded in the ceiling. The dignitaries from dozens of star systems mingled in elegant gowns and armor that sparkled like jewels. Leo felt out of place, his plain uniform a stark contrast to the extravagance around him. Yet he kept his expression neutral, his mind sharp. He had been through worse, guarding presidents, warlords, and famous leaders across many systems. But none of them carried the weight that Heiress did. She entered the hall like a breath of starlight. Heiress moved with a grace that seemed almost unreal. Her pale skin glowed softly, and the delicate silver ornaments braided into her long white hair caught the light in a way that made her seem like a living constellation. Tiny patterns of shimmering light pulsed gently across her shoulders and arms, a natural rhythm tied to her dual heartbeats. To the ordinary eye, she was breathtaking beauty. To Leo, she was a symbol of hope and power, carrying the fate of billions on her shoulders. Despite her calm and regal presence, Leo's attention was pulled back to the crowd. Around the hall, dozens of hopeful suitors prepared their offerings, lavish gifts, rare artifacts, even fragments of star, each trying to win Heiress's favor. It was tradition, a centuries-old ritual. 10,000 suitors had tried before, 10,000 had failed. The pressure on Heiress was immense, but she showed no sign of impatience or distraction. One by one, the suitors stepped forward. A proud prince from a distant world presented a glowing fragment of a dying star, held carefully inside a floating containment field. The crowd gasped in awe, but Heiress's face remained calm, unreadable. Leo noticed the faint pulsing of her skin's patterns, subtle but steady, a sign of her control over her emotions. The prince's grand gesture was impressive but failed to move her. Leo's wrist communicator buzzed quietly. His teammate's voice came through, calm but alert. The Vidian ambassador is getting restless. They've discovered the fermented nectars. Leo allowed himself a slight smile. At least someone here was enjoying the event. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. You don't seem impressed, Leo. He turned to see Silas, the Empress's chief advisor. Silas was tall and slender, with calm eyes that missed nothing. He moved through the diplomatic world with ease, his smile both warm and a little mysterious. Leo shook his head. Security doesn't require me to be impressed. His gaze returned to the crowd. Silas laughed softly. I understand, but you should know the Empress specifically requested you for her security during tomorrow's journey. It's not a simple escort, there are risks. His tone grew serious. This mission is special, Leo. Your skills are exactly what we need. Leo felt a flicker of surprise but kept his face steady. I wasn't informed. Years of training kept him from showing any emotion, but inside questions stirred. Why was Heiress so interested in him? Why now? The route to the Ascendant Plains is dangerous, Silas said, lowering his voice. Pirates are known to patrol those sectors. It's no coincidence the Empress chose you. Before Leo could answer, a sudden flicker caught his eye. The prince's star fragment began to pulse wildly, its containment field flickering. Alarm bells rang in Leo's mind. Potential breach, he muttered, moving toward the display. The crowd gasped, stepping back as the glowing fragment swirled, uncontrollably. But then, Eris raised her hand, her glowing fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. Slowly, the wild pulsations steadied, synchronized with the star patterns on her skin. The room fell silent, everyone watching in awe. "An interesting gift, Prince Valan," she said softly, her voice smooth as velvet. The prince's scales dimmed with embarrassment. Another failed attempt. Leo returned to his post, but found himself watching Eris with a new sense of respect. Her connection to the stars was real and powerful. Protecting her would be more complex than he had imagined. As the event finally began to wind down, Leo's wrist communicator buzzed again. His supervisor's voice was clipped and serious. "Leo, updated orders. You lead the Empress's personal security detail for the transit tomorrow. The route is contested. Exercise extreme caution." Leo's jaw tightened. He didn't believe in coincidences, especially not when they involved the galaxy's most valuable sovereign. When dawn came, the sleek royal transport awaited. Leo boarded, early, conducting his own security sweep despite the assurances of the regular team. The ship was a marvel of technology, fast, beautiful, and said to be impenetrable. But Leo's instincts told him otherwise. He was checking the escape pods when he felt it. A sudden, silent approach. The air shifted. Before he could react, Empress Eris was beside him, her luminous presence filling the narrow corridor. "Your thoroughness is appreciated, Leo," she said, her voice gentle but firm. Leo dropped his gaze, respect and something else stirring deep inside him. "In this confined space," she said softly, "your duty matters more than protocol." Leo nodded. The journey ahead was going to test them both in ways neither could yet imagine. The morning light barely touched the sleek hull of the royal transport, as Leo Carver prepared for departure. The ship gleamed under the soft glow of the docking bay, a marvel of Stellaris technology, designed to carry the most important passenger in the galaxy, Empress Eris Valen. Despite the ship's beauty and power, Leo's mind was restless. His fingers traced the edge of the control panel, checking and rechecking every system. He didn't trust the official security team's reassurances. His instincts told him something was wrong. Eris moved through the transport with quiet grace, her luminous skin casting a gentle light in the narrow corridors. Leo watched her carefully. She was calm and poised, as if danger was nothing new to her. But Leo knew better. Underneath that serene exterior was a sovereign bearing the weight of billions, someone who had never truly faced life without protection. Until now. The team was small. Only 3 attendants, Silas and Leo himself. The usual grandeur of the imperial procession was stripped away, replaced by a bare minimum for speed and secrecy. The route to the ascendant planes was shorter but riskier. Pirates had been spotted in the nearby asteroid fields. Leo's jaw tightened. This was no simple precaution. It was a warning. As the engines hummed to life, the ship lifted gracefully from the docking bay. Leo took his position near the main cabin, eyes scanning data streams on his wrist display. The vast blackness of space stretched beyond the viewport, silent and endless. Eris sat nearby, engaged in quiet conversation with Silas. Their musical language flowed smoothly, but Leo kept his focus sharp. For the first hour, everything went as planned. The ship cut through space without a ripple, the advanced engines, almost silent. Leo was beginning to relax when his internal alarm suddenly buzzed. A faint vibration shook the deck beneath his boots, a minor fluctuation in the shield harmonics. Details dismissed by the automated systems, but not by Leo. He tapped into the external sensors, overriding normal protocols. 3 vessels, running, silent, were closing in fast from within the nearby asteroid field. "Contact!" he shouted, voice sharp and urgent. In an instant, the peaceful hum of the transport turned to chaos, The enemy ship slipped out of the shadows, forming an attack formation. Shields flared as the royal transport prepared for battle, but the first impact rocked the vessel violently. The metal groaned and shifted beneath their feet, throwing attendants against bulkheads. Leo's weapon was out before the alarms could finish blaring. "We're being boarded," he reported through the communicator, scanning for threats. Empress Eris rose from her seat, her glow intensifying, patterns across her skin pulsing with alarm. Leo's heart raced. He'd seen many attacks before, but none had felt this personal, this urgent. The route had been secret, but someone had betrayed them. "How is this possible?" Eris asked, voice sharp but controlled. "Because someone wanted it to happen," Leo replied grimly, calculating their shrinking options. A second explosion tore through the hull, worse than the first. Warning lights flashed across every console. A cold, automated voice announced core breach imminent and recommended evacuation. Leo didn't hesitate. "Get to the escape pods," he ordered. Silas moved to argue, but Leo cut him off. "Imperial protocol won't matter if she dies." Eris followed without protest, her luminous form leading the way through the smoke-filled corridors. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and ozone. Leo kept one hand on his weapon, the other guiding her steps. They reached the escape bay just as the ship began to fall apart around them. Leo sealed Eris inside the pod, checking the systems quickly. "You must come too," she said calmly, the weight of command still strong in her voice. He hesitated only briefly before joining her in the cramped compartment. The airlock sealed behind them with a hiss, and the pod ejected violently into the void. Through the viewport, Leo watched the royal transport erupt into a blinding flare of light, scattering debris like shooting stars. In the small pod, silence settled between them, broken only by the soft beeping of failing systems. Leo fought to stabilize their trajectory, hands flying over controls designed for short survival, not long journeys. "We're being pushed off course," he reported. Massive planet loomed ahead, swirling with amber clouds that promised danger. "Unknown and uncharted," Leo muttered, tension knotting his stomach. The pod shook violently as it entered the planet's atmosphere, heat shields flaring against the friction. "Can we survive entry?" Eris asked, her voice steady despite the shaking. Leo glanced at her. "If the shields hold, yes, brace yourself." The descent was brutal. The pod tumbled and skidded, metal screeching against rock and dirt. Finally, with a heavy crash, they came to a stop. The silence was thick, broken only by the hiss of emergency systems. "Empress?" Leo called out, swallowing the sudden dryness in his throat. Her eyes fluttered open, their shifting colors faint but alive. "That was unpleasant," she whispered, voice dry but resolute. Relief washed over Leo, but he knew their ordeal was far from over. Outside, the alien world stretched before them, twisted trees with purple leaves, jagged mountains against the orange sky. The air was thick with acrid scents that made Eris flinch. Leo moved quickly, helping her from the pod. "Stay close," he said, scanning for dangers. Her glowing skin flickered, affected by the planet's strange atmosphere. "The air affects me," she admitted, "but I will endure." They had no choice. Alone on a hostile planet with no immediate rescue, their survival depended on each other. The Empress and her reluctant guard, united not by protocol but by necessity, stepped forward into the unknown. The strange planet stretched before Leo and Eris like a silent challenge. The sky burned with an orange glow, and twisted trees with purple leaves swayed in a harsh, dry wind. The air was heavy with unfamiliar smells, sharp, acrid, and sometimes faintly sweet. Eris struggled to breathe, her glowing skin flickering, faintly with each labored breath. Leo watched her carefully, worry settling deep in his chest. He had survived countless battles, but this was new, protecting a sovereign not just from enemies but from the planet itself. They moved slowly, each step a test against the uneven ground. Eris's usual regal composure gave way to exhaustion, and for the first time, Leo saw vulnerability in her luminous eyes. She was a ruler of stars, yet here she was, forced to depend on a human security specialist for survival. It was a strange and unexpected reversal. Leo found a small cave near the base of a jagged mountain and helped Eris inside. The shelter was crude but better than nothing. He scavenged what he could from the damaged escape pod, emergency rations, water filters, and a small medical kit. "You need to eat," he said gently, offering her a compact food packet. Eris eyed the ration with suspicion and frustration. She was used to delicacies and feasts, not bland survival meals. "This is your idea of food?" she asked, voice faint but sharp. Leo shrugged. "It's not a banquet, but it'll keep you alive." Reluctantly, she took the packet, breaking it open with trembling fingers. Leo noticed the fine lines of frustration crossing her glowing skin, but also the determination to endure. "You're stronger than you look," he said quietly. She gave a faint smile. "I have to be." Days passed slowly. The alien world tested them at every turn. Strange creatures prowled the dense purple forests, their eyes gleaming in the shadows. Leo taught Eris how to move quietly, how to listen for danger, and how to use the environment to their advantage. It was a harsh lesson for a sovereign raised in palaces and ceremony. "You have skills I never imagined," Eris admitted one night as they huddled beside a small fire. The flickering flames cast warm light on her pale face, softened from exhaustion but lit with curiosity. Leo shrugged again, uncomfortable with praise. "Survival isn't about titles. It's about decisions and quick thinking." Their conversations grew longer, shifting from survival tactics to stories of home. Eris shared fragments of her life, ruling billions, bearing the weight of the galaxy, and the loneliness that came with it. Leo spoke of Earth, of oceans that stretched endlessly, mountains that touched the sky, and the simple joy of rain on bare skin. For the first time, Eris listened not as a ruler, but as a person seeking connection. One evening, as a cold wind swept through their shelter, Eris touched Leo's arm lightly. "I've lived 2 centuries," she said softly. "Yet I've never truly experienced life as you describe. Your world feels free." Leo met her gaze, surprised by the vulnerability in her voice. "Freedom comes with risks," he said, "but it's worth it." Their partnership deepened, no longer defined by duty but by trust. Eris's strength was no longer just royal command. It was the resilience to face a hostile world with a human at her side. Leo's respect for her grew beyond protocol. He saw her as a leader and as a survivor. But survival was not just against the environment. Danger loomed close. They soon discovered signs that their crash was no accident. Scorch marks and damaged equipment suggested sabotage. Leo's military training kicked in as he scanned the surroundings for clues. "The attack was planned," he said grimly. "Someone wanted you dead." Eris's glowing skin dimmed almost to darkness. "Betrayal," she whispered, from within. Leo frowned. "You don't trust your own court?" She shook her head slowly. "Trust is a luxury I can no longer afford." As if on cue, a sharp screech echoed through the forest. Both leapt to their feet, weapons ready. From the shadows, a massive 6-limbed creature emerged, scales shimmering like dark metal and teeth glinting under the strange sky. It moved cautiously, testing their presence. "Stay close," Leo instructed, positioning himself between the creature and Eris. "If I give the signal, make as much noise as you can." "What?" she asked, surprised. "Trust me." They worked together instinctively. Leo fired a warning shot, and Eris, concentrating, produced a sharp sonic burst from her glowing skin, an ability her people used for communication. The creature recoiled, confused and frightened by the strange sounds. It retreated slowly, disappearing into the shadows. Afterward, Eris looked at Leo with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. "You've kept me alive more times than any royal guard," she said quietly. Leo smiled, a rare warmth crossing his face. "We keep each other alive." Over the following days, their camp became a small refuge amid the alien wilderness. Eris's glowing patterns fluctuated with the changing atmosphere, dimming when she was weak, brightening with hope. The transformation her species underwent was accelerating, leaving her vulnerable but also awakening new abilities Leo had yet to understand. One night, as they sat beneath unfamiliar stars, Eris confided, "This planet is young, wild. Its core is still alive. I can feel it beneath the soil." Leo raised an eyebrow. "You sense the planet's heartbeat?" "It's part of who I am," she said. "My people are born from stars. We carry their light inside us." Their survival depended not just on physical strength but on understanding this strange bond. Leo's practical skills complemented Eris's otherworldly power, forming an unexpected partnership between human and sovereign. Despite the dangers, despite the unknown, something new had begun, something neither had expected. In a world where trust was rare and betrayal common, Leo and Eris found strength in each other. And as the days grew darker, that bond became their brightest hope. The days spent on the strange planet had hardened Leo and Eris in ways neither expected. Their bond, forged through shared hardship, was stronger than any alliance formed in royal courts. But danger still shadowed their every move. Mercenaries, relentless and well-equipped, hunted them with cold precision. Leo's sharp eyes caught the telltale signs of trackers and sensor scans as they prepared for what could be their final stand. They found shelter in a deep cave near the edge of a glowing molten river that cut through the jagged cliffs. It was an eerie place, lit by the fiery flow below, but it offered a natural fortress. Leo worked quickly to set up defenses using salvage technology and his own combat experience. Eris, though weakened by the planet's harsh atmosphere and the strange transformation her body was undergoing, stood tall and focused. The glowing patterns on her skin flickered with newfound determination. The mercenaries came in waves, their approach methodical and silent until the final moments. Leo's training took over as he moved with precision, disabling sensors and laying traps that disrupted their enemy's advanced equipment. Eris surprised, even him with her rapid adaptation. She used her luminous abilities not just to communicate but as a weapon, creating bursts of light that blinded their attackers and threw them into confusion. One by one, the mercenaries fell back, retreating into the shadows they came from. Leo captured a wounded soldier and demanded answers. The truth came fast and brutal. The attack was no random piracy. It was a conspiracy orchestrated by those closest to Eris. A coalition of rejected suitors, led by Prince Varian, had plotted to kill or capture the Empress. Their plan was to make it appear as an accident, a tragic misfortune, but the betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Eris's glow dimmed, her skin pulsing with a slow, sorrowful rhythm. "Prince Varian," she whispered, "the one who should have protected me." Leo placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this. We'll see it through." Despite her vulnerability, Eris's transformation accelerated. The strange crystalline patterns beneath her skin became more prominent, her light shifting between strength and fragility. It was a reminder of the rare cycle her species underwent, a rebirth that left them exposed but also granted new power. This vulnerability made her a prize but also a force to be reckoned with. Together, they activated an ancient beacon hidden deep within the cave, a relic left by a forgotten civilization. Eris's hands glided over the controls, her glowing fingers awakening the dormant device. The beacon's light burst forth, a signal sent across the stars, calling for help. As they waited, the temple shook, its walls trembling under the strain of the beacon's activation. The mercenaries surged once more, determined to destroy their last hope. Leo and Eris fought side by side, their movements synchronized, their strength multiplied by trust and shared purpose. The battle was fierce, but brief. The mercenaries scattered, and just as the temple began to collapse, a fleet of ships arrived, the Celestial Alliance's forces drawn by the beacon signal. Rescue was finally at hand. Back aboard the flagship, the conspiracy unraveled swiftly. Prince Varian and his allies were arrested, their plots exposed to the galaxy. Eris stood before the Galactic Council, her radiant form restored to full strength. She spoke of the journey, the betrayal, and the lessons learned. Power without wisdom is dangerous, she said clearly. True strength lies in facing the unknown with courage and trust. Leo watched her from the sidelines, pride swelling in his chest. This was no longer the distant ruler he had guarded. This was a woman reborn, a leader shaped by hardship and resilience. Later, as the crowds dispersed, Eris approached him quietly. "I owe you my life," she said softly. Leo shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "You saved yourself. I only helped." Her eyes sparkled with gratitude. "Perhaps we saved each other." Weeks passed and Leo remained in Eris's world, offered a place at her side, not just as a guard, but as a trusted advisor and companion. One evening, under the starlit gardens of the palace, Eris stopped him. "Leo," she said, nervous but sincere, "I have a proposal." He raised an eyebrow, expecting a new mission. "No," she laughed softly. "Something more personal." She took his hand, warm and familiar. "In all my years, I have never felt so alive as I have with you. I don't want to lose this." His heart quickened. "What are you asking?" "I want you by my side, not as my guard, but as my partner. Someone who sees me, not just the Empress." Leo met her gaze, hope and certainty shining in her eyes. "I don't need time to decide. I knew it back on that planet. I want this, us, however we can make it work." Her glow flared brighter than ever, a radiant promise of new beginnings. Together they faced the galaxy, a partnership born from danger, forged in trust and sealed by love. Where 10,000 suitors had failed, Leo had won her heart without trying. Their story spread across the stars, a legend of real love that defied odds, crossed worlds, and changed everything. And, in that change, the universe seemed a little brighter, a little kinder, and full of endless possibilities.